So as promised, I promised I would never miss a Monday. I am currently probably on an airplane heading to Paris, but I didn't want to miss Monday, so I'm filming a Mobility Monday for you that I think would be appropriate and incredibly powerful for your week of training. So let's go ahead and start in a standing position. Hands on your hips, split stance. And what I want you to think about is loading the front leg. So what I mean by that is don't be in the back seat, right? Get on top of your lead leg, right like that. So you're just straight up and down there, okay? So load your lead leg, stand nice and tall. We've got a decoupled hip situation, probably, but we'll make sure we do by the end of the session. So all we're gonna do is take the back hip and drop it towards the midline. Just nice and easy. So as we come into the midline with the left hip, the right hip goes into internal rotation and the external rotators on the right side just gently get into a loaded position. So we're just trying to rotate into internal rotation on that right side. Let's go 5 more. 1, just should be nice and easy. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Good. All right, same thing other side. So the first thing is to get the stance right so that you're loading onto the lead leg, specifically loading into the ball joint of the big toe, right? You don't want to load the toe per se, it's the joint behind it. So we stand tall, pull the ribs off the hips, and from right here, we're going to take the right hip into the midline. And notice my right shoulder is following the right hip. So we're moving as one piece through the upper body. And that's going to keep the spine and the integrity of the spine. All right, we're going to go 5 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then we're going to go ahead and do that again. But now we're going to use a hand driver, the left hand, as it extends from the left hip. So we can start with both thumbs pointing straight out from the hips. And as we drop the right hip into the midline, the right hand is reaching right into the midline, not across, right into it, right? And then we come back. 2, and just the weight of the arm is going to increase the activation of the right hip. So when I reach left, I get right hip activation. Good. And 5, we're going to go 10 total, so 5 more. 1, 2, 3, rotate in, 4, and reach straight down the midline. 5. Okay, same thing other side. Let's make sure that you're not too narrow with your stance. It should be hip width or maybe even just outside of hip width. That's how wide your feet are, okay? Nice big breath, pull the ribs off the hips, load the left leg. We're gonna rotate right hip in, right hand reach down the midline. And we're just gonna go 1, we come back here, 2, back here, 3, 4, 5, good. Stay on the ball joint to that big toe. 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, good. Now we want to do a little bit of a hip airplane. So when we go into internal rotation, there's strength that's going to pull us into external rotation. And that's a very good glute activator. So I'm just going to use my Vipers for support. But for your hip airplane, go ahead and use the wall, or you can use the countertop, you can use the back of a chair, anything that you feel stable. These are not super stable, but I'm not bad at hip airplanes. So I can use a little bit of a less stable environment. So all we're gonna do, first and foremost, we wanna take that left leg into extension, drop the chest down just a little bit. We're gonna load the leg we're standing on. That hamstring is on. It's keeping me from going head over tea kettle. And we're just gonna open the back hip and then close it. Open it, and then close it. So we're just following the hip joint. Easier for me to demonstrate this with two hands on. So open the joint and then close it. Two, so this is a little bit more of an activator, but it's conscious movement, so it definitely falls into that mobility category. Good. 6, we're gonna stay to 10s today. 7, so if you get to 10 before me, just go ahead and take a breather or just do some extra credit here. 9, hip airplanes. And 10, nice job. Whew. Okay, you wanna be able to have control of that movement. All right, so let's go ahead the goal isn't, I'll repeat this. The goal is not to be able to do it freestanding. Although it's a very cool thing to be able to do freestanding, but with different levels of fatigue, different levels of tightness from training, it'll be harder and harder. We want to ensure that you can get through the movement. So go ahead and be stable with your upper body. Okay, so we're standing left, right leg into extension, drop the chest down just a little bit, open the chest, drop the hip. 2, so the upper body is moving just a little bit with that lower body. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, keep that head nice and still. 7, 8, 9, and 10. All right, good. Hip airplanes. I'm not going to repeat that set. I definitely want you to play with that a little bit. It activates those medial fibers of not only glute max, but a lot of glute med, okay? So it's a great movement to put into the movement bubble of mobility. Let's go ahead and get onto the ground, and we're gonna start with just a little bit of leg shakes. Good, just wake up tissue and just warm it up. And I want you leaning back. Open up your hip here, okay? Knees are nice and bent. We're just gonna go through this very quickly. We're gonna go 5 each side, leaning back, happy hips. 1, 2, 3, I'm just counting on the right. We'll get 5 each side, 4, and 5, good. Now, laying down, hands across your chest. When we go right leg to the midline, we're gonna go right rib cage across, going into internal rotation on that left hip. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Which side is tighter, guys? On you. I know on me, this left side is definitely tighter. 3, 3, 4. Bring that chest all the way across. 4, 4, 5, and 5. Okay, now we're gonna bring the rib cage and the lats into it. Same happy hips down at the bottom. We bring the right leg across, arms overhead, long lats. We're rolling the rib cage all the way over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, and 10. Okay, from right there, let's stay right where we are. We've been playing a lot with pelvic tilts, so we want neutral pelvis. So when I lift my hips up, we're gonna drop the sacrum until we get nice flat hips. From right here, we're gonna activate with a bridge. So we're gonna go 10 bridges. So from right here, consciously pull the pubic bone up, flatten the hips, flatten the back, lift the hips up, go long. Think about having long quads. 1, as you drop into the ground, think about dropping that sacrum away from your head. Lift. 2, long quads all the way back. 3, this movement, this activator never goes away. It never gets old. 4, this is how we teach the pelvis and the glutes and the hamstrings to work together. 6, keep the knees in. 7, 8, 9, and 10, and good. Now we're going to work the diaphragm from this position with what we call the central breathing pattern. This is from my friend Lawrence. It's a really, really important part of just understanding how to use your diaphragm in conjunction with your pelvic floor and to try and relax a little bit through the belly. Okay, so this is not decompression breathing. It's very much belly breathing. We've got a little bit of movement here as well. So when we create space by dropping the pubic bone down, opening up the spine and the space behind the back, we're going to inhale. Now as we exhale, we want to push the ribs down and in, and we want to pull the pubic bone towards the belly button. And then we go big inhale, and then we exhale. As we inhale, the belly and the rib cage extend up, and then the ribs come down too, and the pelvis goes into neutral. Belly rises on the inhale. Let's take it to nose breathing. So in through the nose, out through the nose. We'll go 3 more breaths. Here we go. Inhale. Moving through the spine. And good. From this position, let's go ahead and just relax. So the more you do this kind of movements with the breath and with the pelvis, the easier it gets to be able to lay in this position with flat hips and neutral pelvis. So you're not laying there with space underneath your back. So again, you get into position, drop the sacrum, and then just go ahead and straighten the legs. And you can just kind of play with that. From right here, we're just going to take the arms out to the side, and we're going to bring the right knee up and across the body, just the knee, and then come back. And then the other side, just the knee, and then come back. Just the knee. Two, 3, 3. This is opening the hips much more than if we did the whole leg. 4, 5, and 5. So there's definitely a little bit more hip flexor activation there. And I always like to think that if the body was talking to its functional partner, like if the psoas was, which is a hip flexor, was talking to the hip extensor, they would be having a conversation. And in this movement, when you're going here and the knee comes up, we're flexing the hip flexor and the hip extensor is going long. So if you were to say, if you show me strength, I'll give you length. And these two need to function nicely together. It doesn't mean strengthening hip flexors does not make them tight. What makes them tight is keeping them in the same position all the time, right? And not giving them the chance to lengthen. So right here in this full kneeling position, we can just stack the body, ears over shoulders, shoulders over hips, hips over knees. From right there, we take the hands straight up to the sky, drop the sacrum to make sure that we're maintaining neutral pelvis. From right there, raise the arms up, and then let the arms come back down. And as you raise the arms up, keep thinking about decompressing. Just keep thinking about getting taller, okay? Here we go, big reach. Straighten your elbows. Drop your sacrum. You want to do this all on a neutral pelvis. And you can feel that onto your, if you have pointy hips or flat hips. Okay? Nice big reach. And then back down. And you might feel some action between your shoulder blades as well. Just nice activation. And again, if you show me strength, I'll give you length. So it's a great way to start opening up the chest. Big reach up like that. Okay, from here, let's go ahead and just be a little bit of a teapot. So we're just gonna tip and reach and extend and create length through this side of the body. All right, let's go here. And then that side of the body. Create as much length as you can. Reach through the fingertips. All from the stack. Little bit of a side bend. 3, 3, 4, 4, and 5, and 5. Good. All right, so let's take it now into a back lunge, and we're gonna take the hands. I'm gonna come right at you as I demonstrate this. I'm gonna run out of space behind me. But I want you to get into this long position, and then I want both hands in what we call a half sphere of tension. So half of a sphere. So the palms are pulling away from the floor. So your palms are not flat on the ground. Fingertips on the ground, back knee is up, and right there, we're just gonna move laterally. So into the side, and good. So it's a very subtle hip rotator, okay? And adductors. So from this position, hands to the instep, half sphere of tension, long stride, we just move laterally. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, good. From that same position, we're gonna go into the world's greatest stretch. Fingertips are definitely feeling that. We're only gonna go 5. So the more you do these kinds of things, the stronger the body gets, and the more repetitions we'll be able to get if it's necessary, if we wanna do that. Okay, right now, into position, right leg up, right arm up. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then just switch to the other side. Left leg up, right leg long, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and good. All right, let's take it back up to the standing position. Straighten out my mat just a little bit. Notice we didn't use foam roller today. Don't need it every day. You know, I'm not a big advocate of long foam roller sessions. So if you're gonna do a full body scan using your foam roller, you definitely wanna do that in 10 to 15 minutes. It can very much put you into a kind of an overdrive situation. So use it, but use it wisely and in little bouts. Okay, first thing we wanna do here from this wide position is just work in and out of the hip hinge. So right here, you can use your measuring sticks, thumbs on your bottom rib, pinkies on your hip bones, to make sure that your spine stays straight and neutral, or as close to neutral as we can get. 3, we're just moving through the hips. We're not going to end range. We're not trying to load anything. We're just moving in and out of that hinge. Good? Good. Now we're gonna load it a little bit by making it look a little bit more like a founder. So we're just gonna reach the hands to the front. We're not staying there. 2, work the hinge, push the hips to the back. 3, 4, one more, and 5. And now we're gonna do that same hip hinge from feet positioned in an anchored position, so the heels are just slightly outside of the toes. We're just gonna push the hips back from that position. A little bit less of a stretch on the adductors. 2, adductors being those inner thigh muscles. 3, 4, and 5. And now let's take it all the way in. So the big toes are touching, the knees are in, and they have a bias towards the midline, which puts us into internal rotation. We're gonna do the same thing. So from that position, just push your hips back. 1, 2, just nice hinge. 3, nothing crazy. 4, and every time we go here, we load the back line. So we definitely switch it on to an extent, okay? From right there, let's go into this woodpecker stance or this split stance again. This is where we started our day. So we're gonna load the right leg, take a nice big breath, pull the ribs off the hips, and all we're gonna do is float the hands to the height of the heart. And from right here, we're gonna peek over the cliff. So just right here, we're activating that lead leg back line, hamstring. Just nice and easy. 2, nothing extreme, push your hips back. 3, 4, just one more. And 5, and good. Same thing other side. Stand up nice and tall. You want that strength in this pillar position, in this stacked position. Float the hands to the height of the heart. As soon as we put the hands out front, we actually upregulate the back, just to keep you from falling into your arms, right? So just right here, push the hips back. 1. First movement is not to bow, is to push the hips back. The bow happens because the hips go back. 3, 4, and 5. And good. All right, you guys. Happy first week of the Olympics. It should be a good week. There's lots of fun things to watch on Peacock or on the wrap-up show at the end of the day or throughout the day. I will be hopefully watching triathlon on Tuesday and Wednesday. We're just praying that the water quality is there that will make it safe for the athletes. At the same time, as disappointed as I would be that there would be no race and I wouldn't get to see it, I'm just going to be really happy to be there and be around such exquisite excellence. And yeah, I hope there'll be a race, and if not, they'll do what's best for the athletes and their overall health. I hope you have an amazing week. Thank you for hanging out with me. We'll see you soon.